Well, hello, everybody. It must be Tuesday. Hey, Bobby, thanks for being here today.
Always a pleasure, Ed.
Yeah, well, sometimes I'm not so grumpy, but, sometimes I am. What are we going to do about that?
Yeah.
This market is a different market. And all I got to say is we're going to look back at this in 5 years from now and say, man, I wish I would have bought at that time. I'm not going to say that because I already have, but other people were going to do that. I know it's harder to qualify now than it was before, but that's the name of the beast right now. It will get better. Rates will go down, but then you have more competition. But that's my little statement today.
Yeah.
We're on a locking fiasco thing right now where if you're in contract, lock, don't float, don't do anything because you never know what it's going to change.
Yeah.
Because this last week was just amazing how much it went up in one day because of the inflation that came out, and then it went back down.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so you just do 2-1 buy downs and move forward and refinance in 1.5 to 2 years from now. Yeah. 2-1 buy downs. That's everything. Just do that and move on. Get the seller kicking some money for that and just move on.
And that's good. I mean, I have a property right now that I'm going to recommend we possibly have that as an option, because that's really what people need. I mean, if you can get something down to the 4.5 range, then it's going to be a little more manageable.
Just, first year, second year, even if it's, and here's the thing is, I talked to somebody else and they were asking, they never even heard of these things years ago. And it's like, yeah, I think we talked about how you can't really go to a 1% interest rate with a 2-1 buy down. Doesn't even make sense, right? Back in the day when there was threes, but we used them huge in late 90s into 2000. And then we just stopped using them because the government and how most of the time they were the ones utilizing them just didn't make sense in the properties you were able to buy because FHA at the time was so low. VA was so low. It just didn't make sense. Gotcha. What I mean is the actual purchase price amount that you could buy. Where now FHA in our area, we don't know what's going to change to yet, but we're 465, almost 500,000. So, and they're probably going to go to that once the FHA comes out with their new numbers.
Well, and speaking of market changes, right? The last couple of years, it was almost impossible, and that's like not an understatement, to try and get a contingent offer accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who doesn't know, if you're a homeowner and you want to try and buy another property, but it depends on you selling your house as well, and that'd be a contingent offer,
right?
We did get a couple.
Because it's contingent on you selling your house, and that's on the actual contract. You sign a page that says we must sell this house in order to get this house.
Yes, correct. And normally the reason you're doing that is because you're using the equity from the house you're in to help lower your payment on the house you're purchasing, right?
Right. Or you can't even qualify without selling your house, because if you could if you could buy without selling your house, you would do that first and then sell your house.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it.
Right.
I mean, obviously this market is moving a little slower. We're looking at 30 to 60 days on market is average, right?
I don't know. You're telling the story. So.
Instead of 30 to 60 minutes. That's what one of my brokers jokes about, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people were freaking out because we talked to Mike Kelly last week, and he was saying how all the younger people who've been in real estate were used to like hours and a couple of days of closing, and now it takes 14 days or more to get your house offer accepted. They're freaking out. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's always managing expectations with sellers, right?
Well, I'm talking even at agents who are newer in the business that don't know what's going on. Okay. Even loan officers have been in the last 10 years or never seen rates like this.
Yeah. Understood.
Just Chicken Little. You know that because you got kids.
Oh yeah.
This guy is following.
But one thing I want to discuss about that, as far as like being out there writing contingent offers in this market, it's possible to do. This is the one time in the last couple of years, last 3 years, I'd say probably, that it's going to be fairly easy to get an accepted offer. I'm seeing a lot of offers come through their contingent. That's why I want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost though like if we want to go back to like when you first bought a house, we want to make sure you have your pre-approval, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since it's taken longer to get homes sold, before we start looking at houses, we need to make sure we have your house on the market. That for me is your pre-approval. That tells me you're really in it and we're really going to buy something, and sell your house. And so that's just the one thing I wanted to mention today, because a lot of times people, they want to kind of test the market. They want to check it out before they jump into it.
Right.
And I get that, but at the same time, all you're going to do is add time to whatever transaction you get into. And then, obviously until we close the transaction, we're working for free. So, You got to keep that in mind, be considerate.
But they don't care.
Well, then we discuss it after a little while.
Right. But let's go back to contingent offer. I think the
Yeah.
biggest issue that a lot of people are having right now is they want to get top dollar for their house and they want to lowball the person that they're buying.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Of course they want the unicorn, right?
Right.
And they think it's like buying a used car. Like, no, we're going to go in there. We're going to play hardball. It's like no, you know, people there's too many personal feelings and emotions wrapped up in houses. So when you tell someone they have an ugly baby and you want it for 50,000 less, they're going to tell you to pound sand.
Right. Because it's their home. It's still their home.
Yeah. And they
It's
love
not,
it. They've made
it's-
memories, you know?
That's all right. So when you're selling your home, it's a house.
Mhm.
When you're buying it, it's a home. But until you get to that point, it's always your home. So it's like you just said, you're offending them because they're like, but, and I also think if you're not going to do that for your house, why are you doing it to somebody else?
Yeah. You have to walk in everyone's shoes in a transaction like this, you know?
And people don't get that, and they need to, because I know people right now who are looking to buy stuff and they're doing the same thing. They want to try to get the lowest rate possible, the lowest price for the home. We all get that. No one ever comes to me and say, give me the highest rate and the most costs.
Mm-hmm.
And they never say, let's overpay for a property, but be realistic.
Yeah.
You know, and in this market, especially for first time home buyers or even the contingent people, you know, the first thing you want to do is get pre-approved. You need to get pre-approved and fully underwritten so you know what you can deal with. Because I've had people come to me going to sell their house and they have a late.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, my FICO score is 700. No, it's 635.
Yeah.
Also, you got to prioritize your wish list, what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
You have more time now to actually look at the homes and make decisions where you didn't have this before. And we talked about before. Last time during the pandemic and everything, you'd pull up to a house. You like it? Yeah, it's right on offer, right? You didn't even see it. Right now, you can actually go in, make sure that this is going to work for you and write the offer. It's not a buyer's market. It is still a seller's market, as I say, a kinder, gentler market.
Yeah.
A lot of times in other areas, I won't say here, but they say consider condos when you're looking for houses, you know, instead of single family homes. I'm all about buying a single family home because that difference in that HOA payment could be the difference in the amount for you to get your own home.
It is, you know, it's just like you and I have discussed, like mobile homes, right?
Right.
Like people see them, they go, oh, I see the purchase price is
50 grand.
Yeah, 50 or 90,000, right? Yeah, but they're not including the space rent, which is going to go up, you know, every year, and all the other rigmarole that goes in with the purchase like that. Your best bet is always going to be single family, unless there's a reason you need to be in a living situation. If you're a single person who wants community, then I guess condos are good if you have friendly neighbors. And there's a lot of seniors that like to live in mobile home parks because there's no kids running around making noise.
Well, you can always do zero lot line if you want to take care of your house, right?
Sure.
There's nothing to do or do, you know. And the other thing I was going to say is expand your search. You know, I only want this one neighborhood. Well, no, you can always do transfers with schools. You can do a lot of other stuff. So, you know, really look at future where are you going to be in 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What's that plan? Don't just look at today, look at going forward. If I buy this house, how will it look? Because you're not going to, once you get into this house and then eventually when the rates drop again and we refinance you, you're probably going to stay at that loan for a very long time.
Yeah.
Just like the people who are in the 2% right now and 3% are going, I don't want us to get out of this because if I get out of this, my payment goes up like drastically.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so that's what we talked about before, looking at assuming people's loans that have a low interest rate. VA, FHA are assumable. USDA you have to check on, but conventional, only a small part of those are assumable because they have a due on sell clause. So you really have to check with your lender to see if one of those is. If you find out that your loan is assumable, you know, VA, FHA are, you could, that's a selling thing. Hey, I have my house is worth 400 as an example. I know they're worth more. But I have a loan for 275 at this rate. And then you go get an equity line or a HE loan, which is a fixed rate second to make up the difference. And that's how you can buy the house.
Now that HE loan, what is that going to mirror the same interest rate? It's going to be the current interest rate.
It's going to be, well, no, it's going to mirror the current market interest rate, but it's going to be higher. But you have to look at the blended rate, right? Okay. So if I have a 2.75 or let's just say 3% and I get a 10% second, this is an example, my blended rate's like 5.71, which is lower than the current market, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's
so it's a way to do it. And that's the other thing for people looking to pay off their credit card debt and other stuff. Don't look at refinancing the whole thing as a cash out refinance because that rate's going to be ugly. Well, yeah, I look at all different scenarios, but then you could go get just a HE loan, which is a fixed rate second, and it's a 30-year, or you can get a HELOC. Those are going to be around 9 to 10%. That's just where the market is right now with what Fed funds have done. But that's lower than 23% on your credit cards that you'll never pay off. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you put all those together and you have a fixed payment. And then in a year and a half from now, we'll put them both together again. But don't touch that first right now. Don't ever get rid of that low interest rate. Talk to me first.
So obviously the sellers would be able to call their lender, right, and find out if it's
FHA and VA, it's automatically going to be assumable. Yeah. Conventional, like I said, it's only a small part of them, and pretty much it's a no. But I would still check because you never know.
So why is it the conventional that has that caveat?
Because they have a due on sell clause. They just put it in.
Just simple as that.
Yeah,
huh?
Yeah. Okay. It's a Fannie and Freddie. They have a due on sell clause like that.
Okay.
The other ones kind of do, but that's not the issue. VA's always been assumable, as long as now it's with credit worthiness. Years ago, it was just, did you have a pulse? Anybody could assume it.
Gotcha.
FHA is also assumable if you have credit worthiness, but you just have to look at those things. So,
okay.
And because if someone could come in with $130,000 second and put it in their first payments, that's huge difference.
Yeah.
Right? But you just have to look at the numbers, see if it makes sense. It doesn't always make sense, but people are throwing these TikToks out there to get everybody all excited. And then the problem is you really look into it and it's not as great as they say, but it can be. Follow me?
Well, I obviously, I haven't been around for decades in this business, right?
Ouch, so that hurts. Just because I have gray in my beard doesn't mean I'm that old.
Well, no, so when I have questions about like what's going on in this market right now and like creative things to do, obviously I talk to you, right?
Right.
But also other agents in my office. I have one guy named Rich that's in our office, and he's been doing real estate for a little over 50 years now.
Wow.
So he's seen it all. So I ask him, he'd say, don't worry, we'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm looking at, I think in my head, I've been talking about this. We've been talking October. Well, a couple things happened that's not going to make it October, which is the actual inflation rate went up drastically on the core. Right. Uh-huh. And that's what happened this week. Last week. I'm blending these weeks together, but we're looking at, all right, two things that are really affecting people right now: inflation and the current political what's going on. Right. They're really worried about both of those things right now. And they're worried about how they're going to pay their bills. They're worried about a lot of other stuff because of this inflation major problem. So everybody's looking for November 8th. So get out and vote. Your vote's going to matter this time more than any other time. If you don't vote in the federal, at least vote in the local state election stuff. And the other thing is the 10th of November is when the CPI is going to come back out again. And they're expecting that one to be lower this time. So gotcha. It's the darkest before the dawn, the whole stuff. Yeah. Well, that's kind of where supposedly the October number is. However, we don't know. We won't know. It's a lagging indicator of where inflation is, right? We know the Fed should have started sooner. We know all that, but the question is, how do we get through this and we'll get through it. It's just a matter of when, right? Yeah. So rates will drop, but don't wait for them because, like I say, when they drop 1%, you're going to bring in 2.5 million people back in the market nationwide because we probably took out 11 to 12 million right now. So every time that comes in, the only places that have to worry about property values and stuff like that is like Austin, Texas, anywhere that people ran to get away from California and other places like New York. Those are where because people are going, this is not as great as I thought it was. And they're going back.
They're getting through a full season and saying, oh, you know what, man, it gets below 30 degrees over here.
Well, no, like everybody ran to Texas because I can buy a property cheap there at 400,000 and it's a mansion. Well, they didn't look at the property taxes are 3% a year.
Yeah.
Okay. 3% on 400,000 is 12 grand. Well, if your house goes up by 50,000 that year, your taxes are going up by 10% of that each year. So your taxes in Texas double every 10 years.
Yeah.
All right. And so the problem is people bought Airbnbs in Austin and other places to rent them and we're doing amazing. But then the taxes started creeping up and they're going, man, I can't afford this. This is not making me any money. And so they're put up a glutton on the property on the market. Plus they're also getting, more, what's that word? I'm stringent on allowing Airbnbs and other things in certain markets. So.
Oh, yeah, I know they pulled that ability in Tahoe, or they gave notice on it, right? Because my aunt listed like 3 different Airbnbs in Tahoe within a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem is people, it's a great way to make money, but it's not going to be there forever. So just do long-term rent and move on.
Yeah.
Change and increase the, because people will increase each month, each year, the rent and move on. So,
I recently talked to a guy at church who had moved to Texas about 3 years ago. So he was kind of ahead of COVID, right?
Right.
And I said, I asked him, positive and negatives, right? Because he's back home visiting family. And he had a lot of positives, but he also said, you know what, man, growing up in California, kind of spoiled, used to having the ocean and the mountains and the desert and having options, right? He's like, in Texas, everyone's super nice, but it's flat. You might find some rolling hills, so that was the only negative thing he had to say about it. The geography is pretty consistent.
Yeah, it is. I was stationed there for a while, so I totally.
Yeah.
That's why when people go, I'm not moving back there. I've been there. I've been to Florida. I've been to all those places. I don't like humidity. I like here.
Yeah.
I hate humidity more than I hate California politics.
Yeah.
That's my deal. I'm sticking with it.
We'll just work to fix it, right?
That's my plan. I'm staying here to fight. That's why I stay on radio and everything else.
Cool, man.
All right, everybody, make it a great day. Hope you got some information from today. Most important thing is if you're writing a contingent offer, be nice.
Yes.
And be understanding on both sides.
Exactly. Think about it from everyone's perspective, right. Agents and sellers alike,
That's right. And that old proverb, do unto others as others want you to do unto you or something like that. I don't know where it word, but
yes.
Yeah, something like that. Be nice. How about that? All right, everybody.